How's it going, everyone? Venom here with another video. Today I'm actually going to be reviewing the first Terrifier movie, and I'm actually really excited to talk about it. This is going to be more off the cuff. I did plan to actually type it down to have my thoughts a little bit more organized, but I think I'm just going to do it this way just because I'm pressed for time, grown stuff, grown stuff business, but doesn't mean I don't want to really talk about it because I just recently saw the third one and I will be making reviews for 2 and 3. Uh, I was thinking of bundling them up, uh, but after watching them and processing them and taking them all in, I do feel that every movie deserves their own video. So the first movie released in 2016, it's supposed to be Damien Damien Leone's debut as a director, aside from his short films that he's done, like The Ninth Circle. And then, of course, he did his anthology All Hallows Eve film. So, Ninth Circle released in 2008, All Hallows Eve released in 2013, and it's just a collection of shorts that Damien Leone made. Ninth Circle is actually, I think, supposed to be the debut of the Art the Clown character, but on with Terrifier, even though it's the same character, they're like separate, so you shouldn't really have the other films inform you as far as the story and everything is concerned. As we know them now, the first movie is what matters. Though, of course, if you'd like to see the short films, you know, you're more than welcome to. I personally haven't seen them. But yes, that's when it released, 2016, and I gotta say it is something. So I'll just start by saying that it is not the best movie, but I'm not gonna sit here and tell you it's a bad movie. It's actually a pretty good movie, but it is flawed. I haven't really seen anybody say that it's a masterpiece or a misunderstood masterpiece, and to be honest, it's not. It's not any of those things, and it doesn't need to be. It's still a pretty good movie with the flaws. So I'm gonna just actually also segue into here with the flaws. I just want to get the flaws out of the way. I do think that the characters are all pretty one-dimensional. That being said, their performances are pretty standard slasher material, for better or worse. I'm just gonna say better for better or worse because it really just depends on the person and the viewer on what they're looking for. This is more so of a no frills, raw, down to the bone slasher. There's really no filler. It's going into the marrow with how lean it actually is. The characters don't have any real arcs. They're just regular people, like, for instance, you could say a standard Friday the 13th film, or a standard Halloween film, or a standard, you know, Freddy movie. It is what it is. The thing is, they still come across as, you know, they mark their stamp on the film, like the original. The original actress that portrays the protagonist in the first one, her name is Samantha Scafidi, I think. Oh no, that's Samantha Scafidi is actually Victoria, who's in the other films. The main actress is Jenna Cannell, and I gotta tell you, she really does look like Neve Campbell. She's like Neve Campbell's daughter. But like, she does mark her stamp on the movie. Her friend, Catherine Corcoran, I think Corcoran, I think that's how you pronounce it. She plays the Dawn character, her friend, and I mean, she's okay. She's nothing noteworthy. She's pretty much there for, of course, the kill later, which a lot of this film does feel like. The characters are there to pretty much get killed, but they don't just show up and they're murdered. You know, the movie still gives them enough screen time before they're ultimately, you know, done in by art. So yeah, for better or worse, if you don't care that the characters have, you know, arcs, that's fine. They are established pretty standardly. there's nothing complex about them. They're simple characters. They're just there. Um, but I do like some of the acting, but most of it is pretty subpar, honestly. So we have, of course, the Tara character played by Jenna, who's not Nev Campbell. We got Samantha Scafidi playing her sister, Victoria Hayes, which I think she gets more to do, of course, in the next two films. I'm just, if you're on this review, you're just going to get some spoilers. And then, of course, we got David Howard Thornton, who plays Art the Clown, who's by far the best actor in the movie. And then we got Catherine Corcoran, who does play Dawn, and yeah, her acting is not the best. It's pretty whatever. And then we, of course, got the actress that plays the crazy cat lady, Puya Mohseni. I actually didn't even know she was Indian. I'm going to assume she's Indian with her first name, because it's a very common sounding Indian name. And then, of course, there's other characters, but the last one I'm going to mention is Matt McAllister, who plays the exterminator character, or janitor as I call him. I call him the based janitor because he really is pretty cool. Just the typical, character that's so out of the loop of everything that's going on. He's just the no nonsense dude, just trying to do his job, and that's it. They're trying to clean up a terribly dirty and disgusting building alone, especially. I don't know how you can clean that whole thing alone. It's pretty fucking bad. And anyone who's seen the movie knows that that building where pretty much all the killings go down is downright disgusting. So now that we got the character situations out of the way, there's really not much for me to talk about except that Tara and Victoria are sisters. Art is the killer clown. Dawn is her dumb friend, her drunk friend. I still like her, but she's the dumb friend. The cat lady is pretty crazy and very eerie. And then, of course, Mike the Exterminator. There's not much to say. Now we can move on to the actual story. And honestly, I think that's already good for the flaws as well. Most of the flaws actually pertain to the characters. The fact that, the movie's plot is, of course, that there's these two young women on Halloween night. They're just trying to have some fun, and they unfortunately, meet up with the movie's titular villain, Art the Clown. And from then on, Art the Clown wreaks havoc on the small little town, particularly them. Yeah, I got tongue-tied right there. Particularly them. And all hell breaks loose after that. That's pretty much the summary. You're on a Terrifier review, so what are we here for but to see what I think about the kills? And I'm gonna be honest with you, the kills are pretty fucking graphic. I don't watch gore. I don't watch movies particularly that focus on gore. I swear take a shot when Venom says particularly. I don't watch any of that stuff. Have I watched movies with that? Of course, The kills in this movie are definitely something to behold in the worst possible sense. I'm not one of these people that thinks this movie is just about the gore. It kind of is, because there's a lot of special effects and practical effects that go into this, more so with the practical effects, which I'm a very big fan of. And you definitely get to see Damien Leone and his small team show their chops and what they're able to do. And as the movies progress, you definitely get a sense and start to understand and see that Damien Leone and his team are definitely watching gore. They're definitely on the cartel videos. That's from what I understand. From what I've heard about what those videos have. Well, there's a ton of videos, but from the stories that I've heard, yeah, they have to be on these videos. That being said, yeah, the kills are extremely gruesome. They're extremely violent. I'm not gonna call this movie misogynistic because I just don't think it is. And then Damien, the director, also took these criticisms to heart, especially because of the second movie. And if you've watched the third movie, he definitely does a number on men as well. Not to say he doesn't kill men in any of these movies. He does. he he pretty much kills everybody except Victoria. He kills the final girl. Like, come on, man. He kills everybody. Some of the deaths aren't as violent or as bad as, like, let's say the Dawn character, because the Dawn character's death is the highlight in terms of gruesome deaths in this film. That is the most violent one in here. And I couldn't keep my mouth closed because I was just so shocked to see what was going on with it. That being said, Jenna Kennel, who plays Tara, her character does suffer a really cruel fate. She gets her heel and ankles pretty much stabbed and almost sawed. Is that even the proper term to use? Like, he was just like cutting the shit out of her fucking ankle and heel. It was, oh man, it was really hard to watch. And then at the end, he just shoots her. Like in the movie, he's pretty much using, you know, standard typical serial killer weapons, a saw, he's using knives, you know, and to the point where he's even using his hands. But then all of a sudden, he just busts out the strap and shoots Tara, which I gotta be for real. That was so funny, but it was also just so shocking to see at the same time. Shocking and hilarious at the same time. Damien really does know how to pull these moments, which I think is a good way to segue into the next part, because I can only talk about the kill so much. If you haven't seen this movie, go watch it. If you're a gore enthusiast, go watch it. This movie is not for everybody, I'll say that. I can't recommend this movie to just anybody, but if you'd like to take the leap of faith and see how much you can stomach, by all means go right ahead. But I'm just gonna tell you, 2 and 3 they're not for the faint of heart. They're not for the faint of heart. This feels more like a prototype, even though the short films were the prototypes. With that being said, it's your decision. Feel free to go check that out. So I was not expecting the comedic elements to it. I mean, it's Art the Clown, but how many times do we see characters like this they're not supposed to be there to actually do their job the way they would in real life. They're meant to upend the standards and tropes and anything that you think about the archetype of character that they're playing. That being said, David Howard Thornton does an amazing job. He is the standout. He's the standout in every single one of these movies, and I can't wait to keep talking about him in the preceding reviews, and the actions and physical acting that he does to give Art the Clown life, breathe life into him, which is ironic considering the amount of death and destruction that he causes everywhere that he goes, and he has no qualms in doing it. This man delights in the evil that he causes. But before I get more into the Art the Clown character, I just want to talk about the comedy. There is a lot of dark humor in this movie. It could be a completely unsettling scene. Take the diner scene earlier in the movie, for example. This guy is just acting very silly, but the faces that he makes, what David Howard Thornton does is somehow blend just the creepy factor of a stranger dead-eyeing you from across a table at a diner on Halloween night, while also making some of the most ridiculous faces ever. Art the Clown is a mime. He never speaks, you never hear him laugh. It's all about the physical acting, and I'm just very impressed at the level of work this guy does after each movie without having to make a fucking noise. Only noises this man makes are through his actions. It's literally it. You'll never hear it. I don't expect that in Terrifier 4 either. But there's a very strong underlying dark humor in all of this, because this is one of the most violent films I've ever seen, but the director also knows that there is a sort of over-the-topness to it. And it's not supposed to be the most grounded movie, though it is the most grounded out of the 3 that have released. there are certain instances where it does feel like it's not supposed to be that. Take for example when he again pulls out the gun completely out of nowhere, but it's exactly something that a clown would do if he's trying to make you laugh, or if the director's trying to make you laugh. There's just so many instances where this happens. I'm gonna give another instance. He's looking for Tara during the movie, trying to kill her. He's trying his damnedest. She won't let him do it, obviously. All of a sudden in a scene, he's on a tricycle with jazz playing in the background. Like, come on, man. But I don't know, I feel like there's a genius to this. Because how in the world are you able to pull off such evil and such maniacal violence and still somehow be able to inject comedy, a layer of comedy to it, even if it's not overt? Sometimes it's clearly, in a way, overt, even if you're not laughing. Maybe you're giggling, maybe you're chuckling. Maybe you're realizing that it's kind of crazy that you're even feeling like that to begin with, but don't get it twisted. It's meant to be there. You're not a crazy person for laughing. It's part of the inside joke. It doesn't mean that these movies are actual comedies, but they can be funny. They have comedic elements. I wouldn't even really call part 3 a horror comedy, but the comedy is higher in that one, and it's fine because the horror and the violence and just everything about it counterbalances it the same way Sam Raimi did in Evil Dead 2. It's a real, I know I keep mentioning the other ones, but I just watched the second one twice this week and it's amazing. But insane. Amazing and insane. But let's get back to this movie. It's definitely the most grounded one, but there are instances where it doesn't feel as grounded. I can't remember right now the exact moment, but there are times where it feels like Art the Clown already has supernatural strength. And if you're watching this review, I'm also gonna just assume you know the story. I'm more I'd rather focus on actually talking about the movie, finding its flaws, seeing what it does right, than actually just looking to go through the play-by-play of the actions. You already saw the movie, that's not why you're here. There are definitely instances where I thought this man was not normal. He's clearly not normal, but there is a level of glee, a level of delight, a level of just outright demented evil going on in this character, where I could still kind of see it happening. But of course, Damien Leone isn't even completely concerned with making the most grounded film in this movie. He's trying to make something just unique with some creative flair, and it is pretty creative. The shots are all really nicely done, all very, very solid placement of the camera and the compositions. He has a very good command of the use of blues. He definitely uses it to really good extent in the second one as well, but in this one, it almost has kind of like a music video vibe to it, a low-key grunge feeling to it, kind of like how the 2000s had a lot of the oversaturation looks, the yellows, the greens, or the gray greens, the muted greens and blues. You know what I'm talking about. Look, just take a look at the first Saw. I think Saw is a really good representation of that, of the Saw series. They used to do that quite a bit. Even the Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake kind of did that with its cinematography. I'm not saying it looks as bland. I actually think this movie looks much better. There's a healthy dose of film grain, some just real beautiful photography. The main colors used are of course the orange and teals. I guess the teal, real great use of it. The whole lighting aspect of the film is really good because it's bathed in darkness. Something that Damien Leone has kind of got away from in the other ones. Not to say that there isn't any form of darkness, but this movie takes place in one night, Halloween night, in some of the most dank, disgusting locations ever. Definitely a place you do not want to go at night on your own in real life. I've really enjoyed how he used the dark to convey just the abyss of depravity of Art the Clown is just also something to behold, because I've never really seen it executed the way it is in these movies. And I think the biggest reason why is just because of Damien Leone's willingness to show you everything that goes into the type of actions that somebody like Art the Clown does. He doesn't care. He's not going to be reasoned with. He's like a Terminator. He doesn't care. He has no moral compass. He'll have fun with you. He'll play with his food. And then he'll just straight up murder you. Point blank, no remorse. I mean, in this movie, he literally eats a girl's face off. Like, who does that? Just cuz. I don't even think he's a cannibal. He just did it on purpose. He's just a demon. I was saying that before the movie even ended. This character is just... he's something else. He really is. The same way Dr. Loomis feels about Michael Myers, that's how it feels like with this character. But it's because of just everything, the creative freedom that Damien Leone has, and he still has, because these are independent films. They're not big, high budget films. I mean, this first movie had a budget of $35,000, $55,000. And it only made $421,798, and I know that because I got the Wikipedia up right now. Each subsequent movie gets a bigger budget, and it thankfully does make back its money. So Damien Leone is on a high rise right now. He's just continuously succeeding. I can't wait to see what else he has in store for Art the Clown and the Terrifier series and the story. But to give some ending thoughts, if we're gonna make a sequel out of this movie, you definitely got to improve some of the acting. You got to give the characters more to do except just being in a specific times and places for them to just be killed. I mean, so many slashers do that. Every big slasher franchise is guilty of that. It doesn't really matter, you know, in a way. But I think it's also just because horror fans, especially fans of slasher movies, just are so comfortable with slop. And I've kind of realized that over these past couple of years, just delving into so much horror and looking at forums, looking at comments, looking at reviews and seeing what people have to say, what it is that people like about them, talking to friends. You know, sometimes even if I talk with my friends and I don't get the biggest, most detailed explanations, that's fine, because I don't talk to every one of them. Not everyone's a horror enthusiast, and that's okay. But definitely do more with the characters. There can be story, like, it's okay for these kinds of movies to go that route and still keep what made them good or what made them stand out. And Terrifier, the original movie, doesn't stand out for its characters. It doesn't stand out for its cinematography, even though it's good. And I do think it's stuck with me. For anyone who watches it and I can at least enjoy the films, I think they can say that the cinematography and the look of the movie and the colors used, the hues used, definitely stands out. But it's more so about Art the Clown and how he kills, or the lengths that he would go, or he will go, to kill, you know, anyone and anything that crosses his path. You know, I could sit here and talk about more of the kills, like turning a man's head into pretty much a jack-o'-lantern. That one was that's a very early kill in the movie, and it's not something I had on my bingo card for 2024, much less 2016 when that released. But I just started watching these, so, you know, I'm kind of late to the game. Thankfully, I, you know, was able to watch Terrifier 3 in cinemas, because that's a beautiful looking film. But again, we'll get to that one. So yes, this movie is more so stands out because of its kills and its titular character, not for the story, not for the characters, nothing like that. Thankfully, the sequel does get more into that, even though it's also a flawed film. I would say it's less flawed than this one, but I think this one is in a very tight package that its flaws stand out less than the second one. And of course, like I mentioned, we'll get to that in the next review. Overall, I'd give this movie a fair score would probably be a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. That's a pretty decent score for what this movie has to offer. I give it a higher score in my heart subjectively just because I enjoy the lengths that Damien Leone will go to show you what evil looks like, and it grows with each subsequent sequel. I don't think I'm being lenient on the movie, but it is definitely better than some of the slop that Art the Clown's peers give. Whether it's Halloween, whether it's Friday the 13th, whether it's Chucky, whether it's Nightmare on Elm Street. And one last thing before I actually do end the video, the music. The music is an interesting blend of synth, like dark synth, and some piano here and there to really ante up the creepy vibe for when Art's stalking his prey. It's very interesting. I will say that I wasn't totally spooked by the entire soundtrack, but there were moments where Paul Wiley, I'm pretty sure he composed the soundtrack for this first one as well as the second one and the third one, and he did a really interesting job. I will say that. Is it my favorite soundtrack? No, it's not, but it is pretty damn interesting. The soundtracks do get better in the later sequels. Good movie, incredible character, incredible levels of depravity and violence and gore. Definitely check it out if you're into that. The physical acting is top notch, and if you don't come out liking it, maybe you'll like the second one. So stick around to the channel so that you can see that review too coming up. So those are my final thoughts on this film. I'm really looking forward to doing the next 2 videos to talk more in detail about what's going on with those, and hopefully you can keep joining us on this journey me and the other guys are trying to take with this channel. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I really hope you enjoyed this review. Hope you enjoyed some of the footage that goes along with it. This has been Venom with the Media Files, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.